Welcome back to our 10th episode of Sidelined with Jonny and Noah. I am Noah.
And I am Jonny. And in this episode, we have news around the league. We have some new segments and a special guest. So don't forget to stay tuned.
Let's get right into it. And for our first segment, the usual news around the league. Jonny, you should be familiar with this one.
OBJ, I had to whip out the jersey for this episode. He found a new home. He's signing with the Rams. Some pretty big news.
Yeah,
and he's also going to be the number 2 receiver with an injury that we'll talk about pretty soon.
Yeah. And another big signing for the Panthers. This one's a surprise. With Sam Darnold being out 4 to 6 weeks with a shoulder injury, Cam Newton is back with the Panthers. That's a big one, a big signing. He's been available for a while.
That's
He's
pretty crazy.
Finally healthy. Maybe we'll see a potential breakout rest of the season for him. I mean, it'd be great to see.
Yeah.
And then finally, this one is pretty serious.
This is pretty interesting. Aaron Rodgers being fined $14,000 for his whole COVID situation, along with the team being fined $300,000 with no loss of a pick or anything like that. And another fine.
Yeah, the biggest one. The bigger issue is CD Lamb getting fined $16K for an untucked jersey. Now, of course, Aaron Rodgers has his right to do everything, but he did break a rule that is normally taken very seriously within the rest of the league. CD Lamb, he had an untucked jersey. He got fined $2,000 more, probably more because we're not entirely right on the head with that. But if I were, the NFL needs to fix their fines. They need to fix a lot of things.
That is pretty ridiculous. But
not saying CD Lamb shouldn't have been punished at all.
No.
I don't really believe Rodgers should be entirely punished, but at the same time, he did break rules that were put in place, so he should be. But an untucked jersey, come on, it's getting ridiculous out here. So yeah. And then moving on, we're going to be going right into our injuries for the week, and then we're going to do our IR slots. So, Jonny, injuries for the week.
Injuries for this week, we have obviously Aaron Rodgers coming back from the COVID list, as well as Danger Russ coming off the IR, getting his pin removed in his hand. He is ready to go.
Perfect.
Another injury for this week, Damian Harris out with a concussion for this week. D-Hop and Kyler are both game time decisions, so for your fantasy lineups, you want to be careful and watch that right before the game starts. Shameless plug for fantasy's sake, episode 9 coming out this weekend as well. Another injury, Alvin Kamara, kind of lost in the week.
Looks like it
came out of nowhere.
It appears.
And we have that injury. He's going to be out this week. Kind of surprising. Another one, AB, Antonio Brown. He is also out with the ankle injury. And on the same team, Rob Gronkowski is out with the ribs.
Yeah, and then now we're going to be jumping into our IR injuries. Robert Woods just recently tore his ACL, which is what Jonny was talking about. So good
practice on Friday.
Good timing for the Rams to pick up Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah, that's pretty
And then another big receiver, Julio Jones put in the IR. Kind of a surprise. He went from practicing in full health last week to being IR, which is at least 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then obviously the quarterback we mentioned before is Sam Darnold. He's going to be placed in the IR. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks. So that's a pretty tough one for them.
Yeah.
And then Chase Edmonds, big time running back. I think it's a high ankle sprain. He's put in the IR for at least 4 weeks as well.
Big for James Conner fans.
A surprising injury is Montez Sweat. Not surprising, but very rare. What is it? A fractured jaw?
Yeah.
Fractured jaw. He's going to be out at least 4 weeks because he's got to have no movement in that jaw.
That was definitely interesting.
That's definitely an interesting one.
Moving forward, we have personal foul. Just weird and stupid situations in the league. First one, we have John Gruden suing the NFL and suing Roger Goodell. Kind of interesting, kind of stupid on his part because he's clearly in the wrong. I don't understand why he thinks he can sue the NFL or Goodell.
Yeah,
but
the specifics were that they unjustly brought up him, and basically the goal was to get Gruden fired, and it was in midseason instead of regular season when they've been investigating the Washington football team for a while. I think he's going to lose it. I think it's a dumb argument.
I think that's really stupid.
When you're that much in the wrong, I don't think the court nowadays is going to be so favorable to you. I'm not saying they should be or shouldn't be, but I just think nowadays this is not a case that he's going to win.
No, I don't think so either.
And then moving on, this is a ridiculous one. We had to talk about it. It was in the Monday night game, which could have cost the Bears the game. It is Cassius Marsh. He did a little spinning heel kick, which was pretty cool. But then apparently he walked near the Steelers sideline and just stared down.
At them. He just looked at him.
But if you think about it, this was also on Pat McAfee's show. Shout out to Pat McAfee. They talked about this and they said, you're going to work your hardest. And also, he was released by the Steelers this season. So this is his old team.
So that was a little revenge
old
game
linebacker
for him. So,
coach.
He's obviously playing with a chip on his shoulder, wants to make a play against his former team, and he gets fined for it.
He worked
really
so hard
stupid.
whole year, a lot of doubts, got released by this team. makes the biggest sack of the game to potentially give Chicago the ball back with a game-winning drive
So
put in
frustrating.
place. Boom. Ref throws a flag, says it's taunting. Now, if you watch the replay, obviously we can't put it due to copyright purposes. He slightly bumps into the ref, but it looks like the ref hip checks him before he throws the flag.
That was ridiculous too.
That wasn't even the most ridiculous. It's just the taunting in general. The
I
NFL
think
needs
that was really
to
stupid.
calm down with
They
that.
need to figure this out, and because this is too much.
And it's definitely a personal foul for Cassius Marsh because it just cost him one of his biggest moments probably in his career. That's a big moment. But yeah, so now we're going to be moving on to our next segment. Moving on.
Yeah.
These are a bunch of players that we believe just should either move on from their team, move on from move on from their career, maybe
hang up the cleats,
and maybe even a team we'll mention at the end.
Yeah.
But starting off, we have Ben Roethlisberger. He just hasn't looked good this year.
He has not. He needs
obviously
to be done.
He's just making it as an average starting quarterback, but he looks hurt all the time. He doesn't look like he can make the big throws anymore.
No.
He just barely makes these throws.
He looks like Drew Brees in his last year.
I think Drew Brees would even look better, honestly.
You could say that. You can make that
But
argument.
Roethlisberger just needs to move on, it looks like. I mean, it happens. I don't think they're going to compete for a Super Bowl this year. Obviously, they might be competing for a wild card spot, but you know,
him
it's
as a
okay to
quarterback-
move on. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. Another player could be Sam Darnold. Obviously, the Panthers just signed
First-year guy,
Cam Newton back to the team, and Sam Darnold, he has not looked good. He doesn't look like the guy that they traded a second and some other picks as well for. He doesn't look good. I think they need to move on, and possibly Sam Darnold should hang up the cleats as well because he just looks terrible. He is seeing ghosts out on the field.
Maybe, yeah. And then next up is Russell Wilson, but not retiring. So not
at all. He's still got the juice.
I think he's got to move on from the Seahawks.
Yeah.
They just haven't
his
really
squad.
built enough around him. They've given him receivers, and you know, Chris Carson's a decent running back, but they haven't done anything in the O-line. The defense is just falling apart. They haven't looked great in a while, and Pete Carroll and him keep clashing. You know, I mean, that's okay with some coaches, Belichick and Brady, but you know, they ended up splitting up in the end. So
I know.
I think it's time for Russell Wilson to find a new team. Obviously, Seattle will remember him forever. Maybe they can repair the relationship, but as of now, I think he should move on.
Yeah. Then the final player is Rob Gronkowski. He's not healthy. Simple as that. He cannot stay on the field more than one game. I mean, he was in the game last week, and he left within the first quarter. And he needs to be done.
Yeah, and then finally we have the Chicago Bears moving on from Matt Nagy. No other explanation.
That's
He's just terrible.
just obvious.
Just terrible.
So
now we're going to be jumping into our mid-season awards, and then we're going to be featuring our special guest who will also give his mid-season awards. So starting off, Johnny, who's your coach of the year?
My coach of the year, I have Zach Taylor. The Bengals have been looking really good. Last year they were really terrible, and this year they are on the come up, and they could possibly make it into the playoffs in a wild card situation.
Definitely. And I have John Harbaugh. I feel like with all the IRs and injuries that the Ravens have faced, they're still one of the best teams in the AFC, maybe in the league.
Without a doubt.
If you check out my NFL tier list video, I have them as a top 4 Super Bowl contending team. And it's obviously goes down to some coaching, some ability, and he's definitely coached the hell out of this team.
Yeah, I know. I agree. Speaking of good players, comeback player of the year, I have Dak Prescott.
Me as well.
As a Giants fan, it's a shame to say, but he just looks really good coming back from that really brutal ankle injury.
It looked, as Alex would say, we didn't know if he'd be coming back on the field.
No. God,
I mean,
it was so bad.
Obviously, we're just joking around, but I mean, there was a chance that he wouldn't look the same. An ankle injury is massive, so you never know. Now we're going to be moving on to our MVP picks. I have Tom Brady. He's just
best quarterback in the league.
He's the GOAT.
He is.
He's the best quarterback in the league, in my opinion. I think if you look at all the passing stats, if you look at the advanced stats, even he leads in most of them.
He does.
PFF, not a usual reliable source, but I'm going to use them to help my case here.
Yep.
Well, they're reliable, but they just grade weirdly. He's the number 1 graded quarterback. You know, he still can sling it. He's been passing for, I mean, on average, at least 3 touchdowns a game. He's on pace to break Peyton Manning's record. He just simply is amazing at 44. I think he should be the MVP.
Yeah, my guy for MVP, I have Kyler Murray. I mean, what's more to say than Kyler Murray? He is the do-it-all quarterback. He can run it. He can pass it. Have you seen him in the pocket? His line isn't that great. So he's always going in and out of the pocket, and he can absolutely sling it.
Yep. And now Offensive Player of the Year. Speaking of a athletic player on the Ravens, I'm going to go with a crazy take here. We're going to have a quarterback that isn't winning MVP win Offensive Player of the Year. Lamar Jackson. He looks like a pocket passer. He doesn't look like one. Obviously, he's athletic, but he can pass in the pocket now. He's throwing the ball pretty well. He's obviously running the ball as he usually does. I just think all around he'd be a great offensive player. Not sure if he's quite enough for MVP, but I just think without him, that offense would not be going as well as it has.
I agree. My offensive player of the year, I have Cooper Kupp. Obviously, his connection with Matthew Stafford is unbelievable. He is now the number 1 receiver in that offense, and now with
in the
Robert
league,
Woods,
possibly.
Sorry. Obviously, I think he is the number 1 receiver in the NFL right now, leading all categories. He just looks fantastic.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Definitely. And then jumping into defensive player of the year, I think it's going to be T.J. Watt. I think he's going to get his revenge from last year, and he's already looking good this year. He's catching up on sacks on Myles Garrett, who is probably one of the other front runners. But
he is, yeah.
I would say T.J. Watt for me. I'm going to see him heat up.
Okay, my defensive player of the year, I have Myles Garrett, leading the league in sacks right now with 12.5 sacks. He just looks disgusting. He looks so good, having 3 drug tests back to back because he wears no sleeves. I mean,
he's just jacked.
Yeah, come on, dude. He looks so good, and he needs to be defensive player of the year.
And now me and Jonny both agree on this one. It's a pretty obvious take as of now. Jamar Chase, top 5 in the league in receiving yards, a top 5 receiver based off of ability. Jamar Chase has just been amazing with Joe Burrow. That connection has been amazing.
Yeah.
And fantasy-wise, obviously, he's the top 3 receiver in the league if you're looking into that. But I definitely would say he's Offensive Rookie of the Year. He's putting up electric performances.
Yeah, he is.
Remember when they said that he couldn't catch a ball?
That is true. Preseason.
Yeah.
So my defensive player of the year, defensive rookie of the year, I have my giant, Azeez Ojulari, one of the top rookie sacks. He has 5.5 sacks. His QB pressures and QB hits are also 3 to 5. He looks really solid for a terrible Giants pass rush.
Yeah, and then I finally have a bold one again, Asante Samuel. I think he's been really great in coverage.
Yeah.
He's had a couple of electric picks.
That's a good argument.
And he just looks very athletic out there, and he's helping that young Chargers defensive core possibly get to a playoff berth. So I'm going to, give him props for that, and I think he will win Defensive Rookie of the Year when it's all said and done.
What's up, everybody? Thank you so much for having me on the show. These are my mid-season NFL awards. Starting off with Comeback Player of the Year. You can go with a couple guys. I think it's most likely going to be Dak Prescott. It's probably the safest option. Could go with Joe Burrow, having an okay year. But I would also say Derwin James having a great year, coming back off multiple injuries, looking like one of the best safeties in the NFL. For Offensive Rookie of the Year, I'm calling Sean out. You're a moron. It's obviously going to be Jamar Chase. Dude is top 5 in receiving yards, has 7 touchdowns in 9 games, averaging 92.8 yards a game. You can't go with anyone else. Najee Harris could be a close second, but it's not going to happen. It's obviously going to be Jamar Chase. Defensive Rookie of the Year, I really want to go with my guy Azeez Ojulari because I'm a big Giants fan, unfortunately. But I got to go with the safe option and say Micah Parsons. 52 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. Dude's all over the field. I will say, though, dark horse for Defensive Rookie of the Year is Nick Bolton, leading rookies with 71 tackles, 9 tackles for loss also. He's just all over the field as well, but I got to give it to Micah Parsons. For Offensive Player of the Year, I'm going to go with Cooper Kupp. Man's having a huge step, becoming the wide receiver 1 on the Rams, leading the league in receiving yards. That Stafford and Kupp connection is just out of this world. For Defensive Player, Garrett, man's just a scary human being. You really can't go with anyone else, honestly, at this point. Probably going to end up being Aaron Donald again, but as of right now, I got to go with Myles Garrett. For my Coach of the Year, I got to go with Brandon Stanley, the head coach of the Chargers. If he's able to turn this 7-9 team around and bring them to a divisional playoff game, he's clearly the favorite for Coach of the Year. For my MVP, I'm stuck between 2. I'm probably going to lean towards Tom Brady. Man's just 44 years old, and he's still pulling off these crazy numbers. You could say that, of course, with the Buccaneers offense, of course he is, but it's just, again, the man's 44, and he's pulling off these crazy throws, these crazy just plays and everything. Now, I got some bold takes for this week. My first one is not necessarily for this week alone, but for the rest of the year. I believe that Cam Newton, rejoining the Panthers, is going to lead the Panthers to a wild card spot. They will just clinch it, 7th seed for the wild card. Specifically, call me crazy, but the Detroit Lions will win their first game of the season against the Steelers. It's happening.
Moving forward into our final segment, the game plan. Games of the week. Who do we have?
Well, my first one, I'm going to go with the Chiefs versus the Raiders. It's a Sunday night football game. Of course, this is an exciting game because it's two very good teams this year, surprisingly. But we seem to forget that the Raiders keep losing people more than they're gaining people.
Yeah,
I feel like they lost Henry Ruggs, unfortunately, due to a accident. They lost Damon Arnett because of a
first-round draft pick.
First-round draft pick again. Same draft, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
They lost him due to another crime-related drama. And, of course, they lost their head coach a couple weeks ago. So I think the Chiefs are going to pull away with this one. They need it desperately. They've been losing some, good games this year. And I think that they are going to fight in this one. I think that Mahomes is finally going to show what he can do. And maybe he'll start checking down a little bit more. So I'm going to go with the Chiefs in this one. It's a good game, though.
I like it. My game of the week, I have Seattle versus the Packers. Russell Wilson coming back. I think he's going to have a really good performance versus the Aaron Rodgers back. I honestly am going to go with the upset. I'm going to go with Seattle taking the win here.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, Russ being back, he's probably going to feel real good. Tyler Lockett and DK are going to have that great connection with him. And that offense is just going to go off. So I definitely agree. That could be a realistic thing that could happen.
Yeah, I like it.
And now we are wrapping up our 10th episode of Sidelined with Jonny and Noah.
Yeah. Thank you for staying tuned for 10 episodes. Look forward to making many more. Don't forget to follow the Twitters right here, WCT 2021 and League of Beasts 21.
And then the TikTok
right here. Yep, TikTok. We're making daily content for you guys. A whole bunch of stuff, music, movies, and obviously football. So don't forget to stay tuned. Drop a like. Let us know any comments you have down below. And that's really it for this week.
Yep. Have a good one. Have a happy football Sunday, and let's go Jets.
Let's go.